Ha ha ha, I'm back. Yeah, that hat is good for outside, but it's not good for inside. So I just had to take that off and change my clothes and get down to a little bit of business. I was thinking about the book, about some of the issues that come up because it's a historical romance and how I either had to get around the issue or um, do a lot of research. And that's why I kept the date. Um, Let me write research because I think I said in the other one, I was like, okay, what's this one about? Um, that's why I kind of left the year ambiguous because the men have rifles and I don't know when they actually came out. I know in the period that I'm talking about there's no trains yet. They are using stage coaches. So I didn't really want to about some things just common sense, common sense and that they ate much heavier food than we're supposed to. We do it, but we're not supposed to. Um, they had lots of beans and pork and a lot of carb stuff, bread, and stuff like that. And because they worked it off, it was a whole different lifestyle. My heroine, by the time she cooked breakfast, she's done more than as far as probably calorie wise is concerned than we do all day, because they had to bring their own water and tote their water. The men worked very hard. They worked out in the field, like all day. So all that bread and carbs and stuff, that they ate was giving them energy, number one. And they pretty much went to bed as soon as it got dark, and then as soon as it got light, they got up, So they really, and the poor slaves, they weren't even at least a free person had a chance of maybe, getting some decent food or something once in a while. But, their conditions, living conditions they lived under. But some of the issues I had to, like I said, I think I said before, my character has been using a primitive kind of a spermicide. It's a mix of herbs because she didn't want to get pregnant by her lover that was the plantation owner's son. She didn't, that one she was raised with. She did not want to get pregnant by him because she did not want to bring another slave into the world. When she gets to Missouri, she realizes, I can have a baby now and my baby's going to be free because by that time she was free. And she decides to stop using this stuff, and she gets pregnant pretty quick after she stops using it because um she thought it would take a while for her body to she didn't know, but actually what she was doing was a primitive, more like a kind of like a, I don't know, like the sponge used to be kind of thing. It was kind of a filter and a spermicide that she was using as primitive one. And also there were issues about, oh, pornography. So of course it wasn't no movie using picture books or nothing like that, but what they had was drawings, like sketches, like sketches. And the men would order them and they'd pass them around, like, when they were smoking their cigars and drinking their brandy, they'd pass them around because no woman saw anything like that. But my character, um, she um, she gets a penny, what they call a penny novel. And a penny novel is kind of like a romance novel, like a smut, romance novel. and she is reading it, and it's about the Arabian Nights, and and all that stuff like that, and it's like pornography to her. She's like hiding it. She's got it hidden in her sewing basket and stuff like that. But he finds out about it and goes, what? And he had always in the hero, he also had actually lived in the East. So he Algiers, as a matter of fact. And so he kind of relates to this, kinky book she's got, and she reads that, and that was something else. Education. Women generally were not educated, and slaves, if they could read and write, it was because of some fluke of nature. They would hang, like pretty much what my character did. They were just hanging around in the house, and when the tutor came to teach the kids, that they learned too. A lot of little boy slaves would go with their little master to school, to be a valet and whatever for him. And then they, of course, they listen, and but you could get in a lot of trouble for it if anybody found out you could read and write. But and my character, that is one of the issues between her and the man that she married, because her lover married somebody else. Okay, I know it's weird. Okay, her lover, the white guy, her lover, the plantation owner's son, married another white woman whose father owned the plantation next door because he wanted that plantation, thinking that my heroine was gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'll move over there with you," and then she was like, "No." So while he was on his honeymoon in New Orleans, and that'll come back in a little while to make some sense in another way. I had to just keep sneaking New Orleans in there, kind of thing. Um, she's married to somebody else. She's married to a slave, another slave. And they never live as man and wife or anything. She just did it to make, her lover jealous, and it just into a mess. And that leads to a lot of craziness. But about education, women could probably read some. They could read the Bible probably. That's some most of the time that was the only book in someone's home, you know, would be the would be the Bible. That would be the only book there, But where my main character, the female character, comes from, there it's one of those big plantation houses, so it's a big library, and she learns how to read and write and stuff, and and she with the slave she was married to, of course, he don't know anything about that. He don't know anything about hygiene. He's a horseman. He really isn't. But he was the only one that had nerve enough to go and ask. For her hand, and she didn't care. You know how we are when our hearts are broken. We don't care what we do. So she didn't care. Thinking it was going to hurt him and make him jealous, but it didn't. So, of course, men were more educated than women. There were what they called colored school, young lady schools in New Orleans, and in other places. They were, half dozen, maybe a dozen, something like that. And girls didn't usually formally go to a school unless it was something like charm school, or maybe, I don't know, maybe like some kind of boarding school, but that was very, very rare in America. If anything, if a family had any kind of money to tutor, came to them. And but it was important to me that she be able to read and write, to be able to protect herself, so that some of the things that were gonna happen to her, she had to, and plus her um my hero, the guy she goes to in Missouri, he specifies that he wants someone who can read and write, and that he wants a free woman. So for her freedom, she left her home, but she has a lot of advantages also. To the children in the town go to school. The store owner, like I said before, is black. His wife, he has three daughters. They go to the school with the other kids. All the school kids go to school together. Um, I had to touch on kind of like and I was like the education. So basically, whoever knew the most taught. Basically, and they had like the proverbial one room schoolhouse, kind of thing. And um, I do have a couple of my characters, the foreman and his wife. They do get to send two of their children away to school, to be educated. And so I actually had to give these people a higher amount of education than maybe would be the average at that time, but it was necessary to do it. Now my arch villain, of course, he wouldn't know his name if it was written 10 feet high. He doesn't read and write. Most of the town's people don't read and write, but it just happened to be, of course, the doctor can, the minister can, it's kind of cute because the blacksmith kind of goes to the little school and he sits there, because he's trying to learn too, how to read and write. So he goes there, and he's that's one of the, 'cause you have these side characters that are just so cute, and they just do these wonderful things, and they, you mention them three or four times, but maybe, but like they're there, and he's a really cool guy. He goes to the schoolhouse when he's not busy, and he sits in the back and he listens to stuff. So, yeah, these people have a little bit more education, and also, when she goes to New Orleans, she and their ward, which turns out to be the store owner's oldest daughter, is going with them to England. So when they get to New Orleans, she's finished, and my character, are finished, and it's a lot of really neat. The New Orleans stuff has a lot of really neat party stuff, really neat. My character is getting, ever since she was a little girl on the plantation, she's seen these white girls live this. We have tea, and then we'll have a barbecue for the governor, and then we'll, and like their lives. She watched these people have these wonderful lives when she lived in like carefree, and when she lived in Missouri, she's a homemaker. And they entertain a lot, and do that kind of thing because that's what people did. They went to church, or if there was a social or something, dinner at Christmas time or something, Easter, whatever. Um, but people had each other to their homes, basically, so every woman had a chance, especially in the, I'll go into the politics in a little while, but especially in the women's league. It's the women's organization in the town, and they get a little political. They get, kind of, they get in there and let their, what that their feelings be known. You know how we are. We're gonna let you know. We don't, if you may not do nothing about it, but we're gonna let you know. And they they're it's made of like the powerful women in the town and the women who aren't afraid to get, involved in politics and stuff like that. See, I talked about the, oh, and slang. I had no idea, so I didn't try any slang. I mean, I know like dang and gwine and and stuff like, that kind of pattern of speech. I know that stuff, so I wasn't, I didn't have a problem with ain't and show enough and all that yassa, and all that crazy stuff. I didn't have any problem with that stuff. I just don't know any of the slang, and that was another thing too. I had to actually go back, um, and I had made some of the people talk too well, if that makes any sense. I had them actually saying out, or, when they wouldn't have said, they wouldn't have. So I had to go back and kind of mess some of that up. Also, the speech pattern, also, too, you can read a line of my dialogue and know who's talking. And I don't have to say, said so and so and so. You know exactly who it is. And that's a sign of good dialogue. And about, let me see, I'm gonna do one more thing. Um, uh, I said the birth control. I said a little about women's rights. Yeah, the women have they call it the women's league, and they sit around. Well, so the men think that they're sitting around crochet, knitting and quilting and crocheting and drinking tea, but they're really taking, a lot of action in the well, women, of course, women couldn't vote. You have to remember at this time. Also, too, it comes up that there's actually a woman business owner in the town, and she's not allowed. The governing body of the town is called just the town council, the town fathers, whatever, kind of say. And they um it consists of like the preacher and the doctor and the store owner and the um Indian man that lives on the plant, on the farm, the one that's the caretaker of the hills. Um, the foreman, he's Irish, he's on there. I mean, just it's just like this, cornucopia, of the people who run, this town. And on the other hand, the women, their respective mates are the same people in the living in the and so it's well, I mean, it's kind of just like it is nowadays. The rich people in the town, because one of my characters summed it up. He said um the rich ladies will have their tea with their linen tablecloths and napkins and silver tea. No, he said the rich women will have their teas with their linen tablecloths, napkins, and silver tea service, and the poor women would clean up after them and do the laundry. And that's pretty much how basic. That's pretty much really that puts it in a nutshell. And that was really an insight of what he had to say. So let me look and see. My eyes are. I didn't have time to. Um, I didn't have time to. I was gonna say something else. I forgot what it was. Oh, I didn't have time to go and get my glasses tightened. They are so loose. They are just sliding down my face, and I can't have that because I've been like really concentrating on my work. I think I'm on six of the ones I had to go back and look at, and I think six is it that where I accidentally erased them. I'm thinking. So oh, and I emailed it to my Kindle. Oh yeah, and I want to write a word. I got to write a word down because, like I said about emailing it to your Kindle, you see it in a different format, and you can see like the mistakes you make. They really, really jump out. So I made one mistake, so I have to go back and change that. But and I made myself remember it. I don't believe I remembered that, especially after all the stuff I did today. So I don't want to go too early. I don't know. I have verb tense. Um, what kind of men? Oh, health wise. Well, this town is lucky they have a doctor there. Usually, um, the women delivered the babies and then that kind of thing. And then you had like a witch woman or something like that, and then you went to, whatever, witch or whatever it is you had in your in the um area there. And of course it was just dismal. I mean, they didn't know anything about, germs and how things they didn't, but some doctors like this, the doctor in this town, he just kind of instinctively knows about um to cleanse his instruments and stuff like that. Also, um, my character has her. I'm telling you guys too much about it, but my character has her baby actually delivered by a doctor, and she is actually a doula herself. So that was a crazy um, thing. And I have verb tenses, something like that, but I am not going to start on that because I know, and I have a whole list of stuff down on the other side. Um, I talked a little bit about being politically correct, which you can't be in this kind of novel because it has to be real. Come on, people. Come on, people. Because it's one scene where my hero meets the store owner and calls him Mister. And it just is like, what, who? They never heard anything like that. A white man called a, black one, Mister, call him Mister, and by his last name, and call his wife Mrs., and, call her by her last name. So he has a lot of good qualities. About my hero, and then I'm gonna go because I don't want it to go over. About my hero, my writing teacher said he's too perfect. And I remember thinking, well, duh, he's got to be perfect. But except one thing. See, it's always that one thing. It's always that shit, With the hero, he can be a lot of things, but there's always that one little um something that, you can't quite put your finger on it, but he's not being up and up about something. And that's what makes a good character. So I'm going to stop this one, and then I am going to do some more stuff about the book. It looks like I can't see, but anyway, let me go. I don't want to go over.